May it please the court, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen. On the night of July 19th, 2019, plaintiff John Jackie Fulbright and defendant Andrew Parker went to sleep, not knowing that the next day would change their lives forever. You see, these two, they never planned to cross each other's paths, and actually it was highly improbable that they ever would. You see, Andrew Parker, he's a working man. He leads a sales team for Americraft Industries. He's married to his high school sweetheart, and together they have 3 beautiful children. His only goal is to provide for his family and enjoy his days. Now, on the other hand, we have John Jackie Fulbright, 17-year-old carefree kid chasing girls and enjoying his last summer going into his senior year of high school. And as you've been told, Jackie Fulbright is a football phenom. He's a star quarterback for Anita High School and his aspirations playing college football. So, plaintiff's going to come up here and they're going to tell you this case is about one thing: Andrew Parker, and how on July 20, 2019, he did any and everything wrong. And as a result of those wrongdoings, Jackie Fulbright's life changed forever, and he lost his chance to play in college. But what this case really boils down to, and I want you guys to pay attention to these 3 things, think about it as this trial progresses. 1, 17-year-old local celebrity high school kid. 2, his new and powerful motorcycle with only 8,000 miles on it. And 3, carelessness. You see, on July 20th, 2019, Andrew Parker woke up like any other day. Woke up 6 or 7, cooked breakfast for his family, kissed them all goodbye, and then headed to the offices of Abbott Aluminum because he had a meeting with David Slater that morning, the president. That meeting went fantastic. And afterwards, he got into a conversation with Kim Anderson, David Slater's personal assistant and closest advisor. They got to talking and they decided that they would also have a lunch meeting at Ray's Steakhouse. Parker, like the rest of the city of Anita, loves Ray's. Actually, he's a regular at Ray's, going there 3 times a week between his business lunches and going there with his family. So the 2 of them, Anderson and Parker, they arrive around 12:30. They have a fantastic lunch. It wraps out around 2 p.m. because Mr. Parker actually had a 3rd business meeting to go to that day at 2:30. So he pays for the check. The 2 exit Ray's together, say their goodbyes, and part ways. Mr. Parker goes with the valet attendant, gets his keys, walks to his car, which was parked in the front of Ray's in the curbside parking on 5th Street, because that's where the valet parks his car. He gets in his car, starts it like he always does, puts his seatbelt on like he always does, checks his mirrors, checks his surroundings, puts it in reverse slightly because it's parked between, parallel between 2 other cars, and he eases out. As he's almost completely merged into the center lane, completely unbeknownst to Mr. Parker, a motorcycle comes roaring down 5th Street and all of a sudden slams into the front left quarter panel of Mr. Parker's bright red Cadillac. Unfortunately, the driver of this motorcycle was ejected, landed on the pavement about 20 feet down from the incident. So Mr. Parker, obviously in shock, throws open his door and sprints out to go check on him. And as he approaches this man laying on the ground, he notices 3 things. 1, he knows, wow, this is a teenage boy, actually, about the same age as my eldest child. 2, he's completely unconscious. And 3, he's not wearing a helmet. So, being the good citizen that Mr. Parker is, he calls an ambulance. A few minutes later, ambulance and a police officer arrives. He speaks with the officer, answers whatever he needs, and then he goes on his way to his 3rd meeting that day, which he unfortunately ended up missing. 2 months later, Jackie Fulbright learned that he unfortunately suffered from brain injury that day and would never be able to play football again. And now, as a result of Jackie Fulbright's careless decision-making, he wishes to shift that blame onto Andrew Parker. He wants to shift to Andrew Parker, the working man, the son, the husband, the father of 3 children. And what happened to Jackie is tragic. You should feel sympathy for him. It's natural to feel sympathy for people in those kind of scenarios. But sympathy is not law, sympathy is not evidence, and sympathy cannot justify shifting blame onto Parker, who was merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you're going to hear testimony from 5 individuals who were actually at the scene that day, excluding the officer. 3 of those individuals are adults. I want you to pay very close attention to all the similarities between those 3 testimonies. Then you're also going to hear the testimony from 2 children, one being plaintiff who was 17 at the time, and a 13-year-old child named Billy Brown, who also idolized Jackie. And really think about how the adult witnesses' testimonies differ from the children's testimonies. And although Jackie Fulbright is going to come out and portray himself as an experienced motorcyclist, the evidence is going to show, 1, he just got his license and that motorcycle 1 year before this. And 2, he didn't drive it during those winter months. So at best, I don't know, maybe he had 6 months of experience, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. Because the evidence is also going to show that Jackie Fulbright was aware of a few things. He was aware, 1, of the layout of 5th Street, the speed limit of 5th Street, the fact that curbside parking is available in front of Ray's, the fact that patrons regularly use that parking during the time period that this luncheon accident occurred. He's also, evidence also showed he was aware that motorcyclists need to be extremely careful as they pass Ray's, because those curbside drivers pulling out have a very difficult time with seeing motorcyclists. And additionally, the evidence is going to show that despite his awareness, he chose to whip around a semi-truck that was going the speed limit to merge into that center lane and while driving above the speed limit. It's also going to show that despite his awareness that he knew he was approaching those curbside spots, he just continued going without a care in the world. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're going to have a decision to make. You're going to have to decide whether Jackie Fulbright's careless decisions that day contributed more or less than 50% to his injuries. If you honestly say that they don't, that's fine, that's what you should say. But the evidence will show that that is going to be an extremely difficult task for a plaintiff to show. Thank you.
Mr. Fallon? Plaintiff, you ready to call your first